Hi, my name is Nan Cohen. I'm the producer of Light Television, and I want to welcome you to an evening of mystics. We have for you tonight two speakers, Rabbi Gershon Winkler of Cuba, New Mexico, and Pat Pierre, a Salish Pend Oreille elder from the Flathead Reservation. Rabbi's talk is called Ancient Wisdom from the Hebrew Tradition, and Pat's talk is called Wisdom for Living. Pat had requested that his segment of the evening was not recorded, so his is not on this videotape, as per his request. Gershon's is in full, and
but tonight
at the end we have
changed a little bit because we've had a very welcome addition to our program. Rabbi Winkler is our original speaker, and we were not able to find a Native American speaker. So Rabbi Winkler graciously went to a lot of work and tracked down Pat Pierre for us. And so as a guest of Rabbi Winkler, we have Pat Pierre, who is also going to be speaking tonight. So tonight we're going to have, instead of an hour and a half, so without further ado, I want to introduce to you Carl Rohr. 7 until 9, a member of the, but we'll give you lots of time to get up and stretch and go to the bathroom and all that sort of thing in between. The format is going to be, we're going to have an hour lecture and then another hour lecture, and then we'll have some, just kind of a forum for questions and answers afterward for about a half an hour. What am I forgetting? I think that's about it. So, without further ado, I want to introduce to you Carl Rohr, who is a member of the advisory board for Lutheran Campus Ministry, and he will be introducing our speakers.
Rabbi Gershon Winkler serves the Jewish community in the Four Corners region of New Mexico, Colorado, and Missoula, Montana. He's come here, he serves... What? What'd they say? Four Corners, yeah. Yeah, but only 3 places. I need to talk to you about that, see what that means, or you can tell us. He's the author of 10 books, 6 of which have to do with Jewish folklore and the occult. He's a teacher as well as a practitioner of ancient Hebrew life cycle rituals and earth season ceremonies, which he conducts regularly across the United States and in the Judean desert in Jerusalem, in Israel. Originally initiated in Jerusalem, Rabbi Winkler studied Jewish mystery wisdom from the oral traditions of Kabbalistic elders, as well as from ancient and early medieval Hebraic and Aramaic texts. He's the founder of the Walking Stick Foundation, dedicated to the recovery of ancient earth-based traditions, and he lives in the San Miguel wilderness of northeastern New Mexico. What?
Northwestern.
Northwestern, did I say eastern? I'm sorry. I need to get my glasses. Four Corners, okay. And beyond all that, I was at a clergy faculty lunch this noon, and a couple people who've heard him speak before said, "You're in for a real treat." So, you've come with high recommendations, and we have high expectations, and we welcome you.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me back there too? How about up here? How about in a minute? Thank you for your very long introduction. You left out my humility. I was hoping you'd get to that eventually.
I figured that might show tonight.
Okay. Thank you. You got me there. Okay, so I'll try to tell you in about an hour. We're running a little late, so maybe it'll be a little less than an hour. About 5,760 some years of my tradition in about an hour. So be ready. Okay. So I wanted to open up with a little prayer chant for my people. A Jewish prayer chant. It's in the language known as Aramaic. which was one of our very ancient languages. And it's not spoken anymore today. But it is studied because a lot of the record texts of our oral tradition was written down in Aramaic, because that was the spoken street language of the people. And the Hebrew language was more of the sacred language, where we only prayed in Hebrew and studied our tradition and our stories in Hebrew, because that was the language in which it came to us. Aramaic became sort of like the language of the people just talking in the streets or in the bathrooms, and it became the language of the sacred rituals. So the most healing rituals and ceremonies are done in Aramaic. It's really down to earth, really manifested in the people. If you're wondering what this is 7 symbols of the 7 chambers of the earth in our tradition. There are 7. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 of them are connected in the middle. And I brought this along to show you because it's the only tambourine I have. But we're not going to talk about this tonight because it's too interesting. So this is a prayer chant that kind of opens us up to being open to learning, hearing the traditions, teachings, and all negative feelings, assumptions, presumptions, out. And it also is an invitation of the ancestors, which means all the ancestors whose spirits are long gone from this plane. May they be invited here with us tonight to join us with this. We go Irin Mechol Gatfin, which means also all the spirits, which were not human, but which moved through the universe, through the physical universe, imbuing everything with life. Because there are many different kinds of levels of spirits in our tradition. And for example, the Talmud, which is the collection of our oral tradition, teaches that every blade of grass, called Ilnin V'Yasavin, Yesh Behen Ruach HaMemuna Allah, every single blade of grass has a spirit that is assigned to it, that says, come on, grow. Grow. See, so we invite all those spirits too, the spirits that are telling you right now to grow, the spirits that are telling your hair to grow. If you know how to do that, I can sure you do really well. This is a very sacred instrument. This helps prevent colds from bald-headed people. When you hear me chant really high in the middle, that means I'm coming to the point where it means, literally the words mean, and behold, I also invite the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days, the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days is one of the names we have for the Creator. We have many names for the Creator. The Ancient of Days, Atik Yomin, because the Creator has been around long before us. So here goes. Askinu sudasodim heimenuso shelemoso hedvosor malakot kadisho. Askinu sudasor malakot ahi sudasor izevanti. Yatika kadisha v'chakal tapuchim kadishin nasyan nesada v'hade b'nei chalot sifin l'mechazei ziv dizerantin yehon ha'cha b'aytaka v'hei malaka וגילופים, סבולחתו בהיבדו בגוירים וחוגתים, חדו השתה בהישתה ורבו ולזפים, קריבו לי חזותי לי, ולסינין לסקיפין, לבנות לין ולא לין, הנקלבין דחציפין. והואזין עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין. למנחו עדי יהון הולכים, והזמין עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין, עתיק יומין. למנחה עדי יהון הולכים, ישב אלון בנוגרהון, ניתנו נגול חיפין, ישב אלון בנוגרהון, ניתנו נגול חיפין, ישב אלון בנוגרהון, ניתנו נגול חיפין. הרי השתה במנחסו, הרי השתה במנחסו, וחדבוסו דיסרנפין. No problem. Any questions? Well, I don't know where to begin. I mean, there's so much, in the tradition. What is mysticism? I don't know. I really don't. But I know that in my people's language, we call it Kabbalah. And Kabbalah literally means receiving, being open to receive. So people go out into the desert who live in the land of Israel, for example, and stay out there for a long time. Our stories are full of people like Charlton Heston and others who went out into the desert and spent many years out in the desert and received visions. Or Moshe, or Moses is known in English. He goes out into the desert. Where does he get his vision? Where does he get his inspiration? Where does he communicate with the Creator? In a school? In a synagogue? No, he goes to the desert. He's hanging out with his sheep. In fact, all of the great vision people that in English, people call prophets, but in our language is Nevi'im. Nevi'im means those who bring. Those who bring, because they brought the vision back to the people, and they would try as hard as they could to translate the experience in a language that mortals could understand. And sometimes they didn't get it right. And people would throw tomatoes at it. I don't know if they grew tomatoes back then. Watermelons, real big suckers. And the word for wilderness in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language, is midbar, which literally means that which resonates, that which speaks. So they went out into the desert to receive that which speaks. So all of these people that are mentioned in what is referred to, some of you might know it as the Old Testament. But to us, it's not Old Testament, it's a living thing called the living Torah. We call our scriptures Torah. Torah has two meanings. Arrow, and it means showing. Because the way they used to show people where to go, where to start, where to go to war, would be the man in charge would shoot the arrow in the direction, and then everybody would charge. So if you ask somebody in ancient Israel, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to Uri Hall? They would pick up their bow, arrow, and see, I think it's that way. Or maybe, actually, it could be over there. Why was it these people went out into the wilderness to get their vision, to bring back the vision? Why couldn't they just get it sitting in a tent and meditating? And so the Kabbalah, which means receiving, that tradition is just about that. It's about being open to receiving what comes to you from just being here. That what we call mystery and magic and mysticism, and that we look for, wow, beyond, happens to be right underneath the soles of our feet as we're standing there looking for it. It's like Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel once said. He was a great mystic, a Kabbalist. He said he was standing with a group of people, back in the early 1900s, because that's when he was living too. And they were watching a meteor shower. And people were in awe at these meteors, these, what do you call them, asteroids? Asteroids flying across the sky. And he remembers how awed he was at the pebbles upon which they were standing while they were watching. So they're all watching, wow, look what's beyond, and way, way out there. And Rabbi Heschel was like saying, wow, look at these beautiful stones on which we're standing, wow. And it's so interesting because the ancient Hebrew word for our physical universe is olam. For those of you who are taking notes, write it down on the blackboard, on the whiteboard, and oh man, it smells good. There you go. Can you read that? Want to write it in English? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, see, my language is from right to left. So it'll be a little hard. I don't know where to stand to do this right. Let's see. Olam. Olam. Olam means the physical universe. Olam, better put this away, literally means, is also the same Hebrew word for hidden, concealed. And the teaching is, because in every ancient language, you won't just find words, you'll find symbolism in all the words. Every word, the way it's constructed, the way the people chose to name an animal or a mountain, or a person has within the word a whole teaching. So when you looked at the word, you said, now I understand the entire mystery of the universe. Thank you. Good night. And there it is. This is the entire lecture for tonight. You have a really good night, and may the force be with you. This means hidden. That means the teaching is that Creator is concealed within creation. Creator is concealed within creation. So while we look for God in all the wrong places, looking for God in all the wrong places. I'm sorry, really. Listen to country western on the way here. And everything that we look for way out there is waiting for us to access it right here. This world is magical. You want magic? Pay attention. When you pay attention, you become a Kabbalist, a receiver, because you begin to receive the wisdom. Then you might ask, well, how do I receive any teaching from a flower or a plant or a blade of grass? And so our teachers taught us thousands of years ago that you do that by what the plant or flower comes with that enables you to do that. It's reaching out to shake your hand. What is that? Aroma, color, taste, sound. I can't taste this plant. It has barely any color. Well, sit for a while and wait for the wind to blow. And as the wind blows across that plant, listen to the sound. Which means there is no saying, no speaking, and there is no communication unless you listen to the sound that carries it. See, right now I'm talking to you and you're listening to my words, but my words are way, way evolved translations of something more core, which is my breath. My words are translations of my breath. My breath has no vowels. See? Now I can read this. Olam has a vowel. Olam. Good. I cross out the vowel. Can't say it. But this is the core, because without the vowels, I can translate this as universe. I can translate this as concealed. See? So everything that we're looking for, and that's what the basic teachings of Jewish mysticism is about. It's about paying attention to what is here, because what the Creator gave us here, the teaching goes, is all you need to know. The rest is none of your business. What are you driving yourself crazy for? It's right there. Everything we are spending so much money to go to learn is free. It's in the air, it's in the wind, it's in the things, it's in the horses. I go to feed my horses in the morning and I break the ice. I know, New Mexico, there's ice? Yeah, there is. We import it from Greenland. I live 7,000 feet up in the air. So you break the ice and the horses come over, and then I look up for a moment and I'm mesmerized. How can you turn away from a horse staring you in the eye? And then another horse. How could you? You can't. They're coming to me. So if I were to just break the ice, throw in the oats and walk away, I'll ride you guys later, bye. Then I miss out on a whole myriad of lessons, a bunch of teaching, a bunch of lessons, a whole bunch of experience. Well, then you ask, really? Let's say I take a whiff of a flower. So the fragrance of the flower is transmitting to me the wisdom of the flower for me today when I pick the rose. Because every time I pick the flower, it's a different flower. I'm in a different place. The whole world is in a different rotation. And I might get a different message. So now you're asking me. See, I'm saving you all the questions. I inhale the fragrance, yeah. Well, I don't feel nothing. I don't think nothing. I can't find no new wisdom. I'm sitting down to write. It's still the same old stuff I learned yesterday. Where's the wisdom of the flower? I just inhaled the darn thing. I paid attention to the color. I listened to the wind blowing through it, and I'd come up with nothing. And so, the explanation is, again, it's not about, we think in linear terms. We think logically. So, you give me information, you have to give me like packaged information. Like packaged tomatoes, right? That's our inclination as human beings. We go to the store and we look around, there's a bunch of tomatoes, but that means I gotta go over there and get a bag and tear it and then, spit on my finger to open it up while no one's looking, get the tomatoes in there. It takes about an hour. On the other hand, there's a package of 4 tomatoes right there, pre-packaged. Yeah, I'll take one of these. Price is on there, about 3 times as much as for 10 tomatoes, but it's packaged, and that's good. We like packages, right? So here too, hey, okay, now I got no time. Life is short. I'm going to go any minute now. You gotta smell the flower. No information. Bunch of bull. Out. Right? And as you throw the flower away, so goes the information. Because the information is not coming to your outer brain, your, what we call in the Kabbalah, mochin de katnut, which is the small brain. It's the brain within, that we think with the givens and definitions of life that we've grown up with. I'm sorry, I haven't been looking over here. I've always been paying attention over there. There are more ball people on that side. And so, what we need to learn, what the teaching says we need to pay attention to, is to just pay attention to whatever it is the rose is giving us, meaning the aroma, meaning the sound of the wind through it that particular moment, meaning if you're going to eat the rose, the flavor of it. Meaning the cut in your finger because you reached down and picked too low and got thorned by it. Whatever it might be, the experience of it then comes to your mochin de gatlut, not your mochin de katnut. It doesn't come to your small mind, the one that's built by all the definitions and givens and science and everything else and the way you've been taught to think. It comes to the places where you're not taught to think. The places where you are naturally thinking as a creation as much as the flower is a creation. When you go into that place, you begin to know the language of the flower. Well, how do I learn that? You don't have to learn it because you already have it. You are already a flower. The moment you got here, you were all roses. Remember how they used to dote on you and smell you a lot and sniff you out? And then come at you these big white things, lift you up and put you on a table, and sprinkle talcum powder. It's a big ritual, big altar they put you on, sprinkling powder on you, taking olive oil, which is a sacred oil for our people, and dabbing it on you 7 times. Then taking the safety pin, the knife and the altar. Done. Sacrifice is over. You were smelling like roses when you got here because you were a rose. You had everything you needed when you got here. And what took it away was because, we're living in societies and cultures and civilizations that know better how to really be on this earth. So we build big pavement all over the earth and big buildings to teach you about the earth and how to take more from her than you already have, so that you can build more buildings to teach you more about the science and understanding of our planet. And when we get tired of that, we go to beyond and build big telescopes to see what is beyond while the whole world's falling apart underneath us. See? Roses. You inhale the fragrance of the rose, and then you step back from it. Because you cannot receive anything, you don't step back. If I don't step back from the painting never gets done. The sculptor who is sculpting a stone, if he keeps chipping away at it, a little bit more over here, maybe a little bit more over here, and about 2 hours later there's nothing left but a pile of sand. There's always it's a very important learning how to step back, to allow for what is coming to you to come to you. at its own pace. Then, 7 weeks later, all of a sudden, you get something. You get an inspiration. Wow, I got a great understanding. Where did that come from? What's the matter? You forgot that rose 7 weeks ago? You have no clue where you get what you get. If you notice when you walk through the woods, and you have a little bit of woods left around here in Montana, if you walk through the woods, through those trees that are marked for cutting but not cut yet, and you're walking through the woods, and sometimes you'll notice that you'll get a whiff, just a whiff, of something sweet from the tree, from the pine. And then you, oh, I want to have that again. And you back up. You can't find it. If you pay attention, you see this really happens. It doesn't just happen to me. You know, take a walk through, next time you're walking through the woods, take off your Walkman, put it aside, and kind of hang it there, or give it to the guy jogging by. Here, want a Walkman? And then walk, be relaxed, be open to receiving what comes. A whiff. Okay, now try to go back and find it. It's gone. Because in that moment that you got the whiff is the only moment that you were supposed to get that whiff, that message, that lesson. Oh, what's it mean? What's it mean? Nothing if you don't step back. But if you just, it's like sitting in the woods and you're listening to a bird. Okay, so the inclination of us modern day people is, ooh, I wonder what kind of bird that was. There goes the wisdom. Once you turn to attempt to define what is undefinable, once you try to make finite what is infinite, you lose it. So the idea is, I mean, I'm not saying you're not supposed to. I mean, there's a bird conference going on back there in the other room. You know, shouldn't say that in case that we're being piped in at the same time. It's good to read about birds, really, and take the field guide with you, and you know, look around. Wow, it's a red-tailed something or other, a Baltimore Oriole in Montana, yeah, or a green peppered, sugar-coated, yellow-beaked, one-eyed, you know, alien. Alien? Yikes! You know, you don't know what it is. So it's all right to learn about everything from science. Science is very important, very good. It educates us. It opens us up. But the danger is in knowing too much from the books, from the science, is that we lose our sense of wonder, of marvel. I mean, did you ever go to the Grand Canyon? Are people standing there going, wow, oh my God, oh. No, you know what they're doing? They're doing this. Wait, see that thing over there? Where's the camera? Where's that down? It's a shame. And they're flying over with helicopters. You can see. Beautiful, honey. Yeah. Awesome. What a shame. It's a bloody shame. The most beautiful thing about being in any canyon is the quiet. And the Kabbalah teaches, speaking about canyon, and getting off on the tangent because that's my tradition. My tradition teaches that, I don't have to say my tradition anymore, right? You know where I'm coming from, right? Okay, right there. Okay. When you are sending out your voice in a canyon and the echo comes back. So the first century Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught, it's not your voice that's coming back. That's not funny. Scary. It's not? Whose voice is coming back? So Rabbi Shimon, who was a great mystic in his time, 1900 years ago, taught like this. He said, there are 3 sounds in the world, in our world, that when they go forth, they never disappear. And they wander from one end of the universe to the other, back and forth, until they slowly make their way into the earth of a canyon. Then, when a person comes along, and comes to the canyon, a tourist, and begins to call into the canyon, and you go, "Yodelay." And then the voice comes out, "Yodelay. Hey, you hear that?" You awaken those sounds that have settled there. You see? Making an echo sound next time you go to the hills or the valleys or the canyons are never going to be the same for you folks after you hear this. What are these 3 sounds? Okay, he says, one sound is a sound of a woman birthing. Like the moment the baby's coming out, while daddy's filling out the blue shield for him. In that moment, there's a sound that comes out from her and from the birthing that never disappears. It doesn't disappear into the ether, the air. It wanders from one end of the universe to the other and eventually finds a resting place in the earth of the canyon. And then when you come and you yell at the guy, "Hey, Tommy! Hey, Tommy!" You're awakening sounds that you have no idea what you're awakening. The second sound is the sound of dying. The sound of the spirit leaving the body at death. These are all like sounds we can't describe. They may not even have any audible, vibrational kind of experience to them. Sound of the spirit leaving the body at death. Also. And the third sound, you'll love this. The third sound is the sound of a snake shedding its skin. The sound of a snake shedding its skin. Oh, that means that if I go to the canyon and I yell in there and the echo comes back, it could be the sound of a snake shedding its skin that's coming back to me? No. A snake is different. The snake shedding its skin is different. Well, how do I awaken the sound of the snake shedding its skin then? Well, there's another way, and that is with beating stick against stone, wood against earth. When you take a stick and you beat it on the stone and make a rhythmic beat, or on a drum, according to some commentaries, then the rhythmic clashing, the sound made from the clashing of 2 things against each other, awakens the sound, the dormant sound of the snake shedding its skin. These are all very, very, very deep mystical teachings. And so you ask me, well, what was he on when he taught that? What do you do with that? What's that got to do with my life? And the answer is that it has a lot to do with our life. Because it's all about personal unfolding, personal moving, making choices in our life, making changes in our life, not being afraid to be alive, not being afraid to have voice, not being afraid to shed our skin, which involves clashing of what we know and learn and what's familiar to us against what we really want next. And so as we stand there afraid, gee, I really want this, but I'm so familiar with this, I can't move. I can't go. I'm stuck in life. So the teaching is, go out to the canyon. Make a rhythmic sound. Boom, 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 boom. Stick on stone or on a drum, according to the others. And you awaken the snake skin shedding sound, which then comes to you back in your echo, the echo of you doing that clashing, and helps you to deal with your clashing of 2 opposites against each other so that you can move out of your skin. The givens and definitions that people have put on you that are keeping you back from where you want to go. And then the next step is surrender to the unknown. Death, the sound of the spirit leaving the body. What is that about? That's surrendering the body. You surrender your spirit. Goodbye. I surrender, I give up. Nowadays we hold on to life as long as we can. We're dying, we're in pain, and they got us hooked up with tubes and things, and my God, and they're sending us to the army still because they need us. and we're all tubed up. During the Vietnam War, they used to take anybody into the Army. They even took me. I didn't have flat feet. I had a flat nose and mouth, and I couldn't hear, I couldn't see, and I say, where is it? Here, boy, this way. Oh, thank you. It took anybody, right? So death is about surrendering. I give up, surrender my spirit. My time has come. I can feel it. I'm going. Goodbye. I'm not here forever anyhow. I'm going to go anyway. Goodbye. See you later. And not being afraid. So I go to the canyon and I make a prayer to hear the echo back in my sound, in my prayers. I pray, chant my prayer to the canyon for power to help me surrender so I can move totally into the unknown, because every moment that we make a choice in life, we are standing at the brink of death, in a way. Major changes, major choices, because we're surrendering to something we don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen next. People call me up and they say, can you do our wedding ceremony in the year 2006? And I say, I don't know. I have to check my great sacred calendar. And so with great fear, I go to my calendar because it determines how long I'm going to live. I turn the page, well, I'm still around next month. I've got an appointment. 2 months later, I've got a lecture to do here. I've got a ceremony here. Okay, I'll be around. Yeah, I can do it. See? We don't know what will be the very next moment. As we're sitting here, the whole world can blow up. And as we're flying through the ether, we'll all laugh at it. Because outside our bodies, we're much funnier. Much funnier than what we look like in here. This is cute, but outside the body, it's really nice. And then, when you do that, after you surrender to the not knowing what's coming next, and therefore you're taking that step and that leap, then you come into the womb. Then you're ready to go out. Then you're ready to birth. Goodbye. I'm coming out into the next world of my life. See, so all these things I'm just talking a lot of stuff in one little nutshell. There are things to talk about in nutshells too in Jewish mysticism. That the echo. Now, how did these teachers come up with these ideas? Well, tradition has it that they heard it from their teachers all the way up to the very beginning somewhere. But the question still is, where does this come from? It comes from Kabbalah, meaning it comes from being open and paying attention and listening and saying, wow, what is sound? What is death? What is birth? What is the snake's shedding its skin? If I pay enough attention to it, it becomes a whole world of teachings for me. It becomes a whole world of wisdom for me. Everything that happens in this world, whether it's out there with some bird or with another human being or a planet, has to do with me if I experience it, if I come to it. So that's basically one little microcosmic sampling of Jewish mysticism. And the idea of stepping back. I know you thought I was done, right? You're like, oh, thank God, I'll go to the bathroom now. The idea of stepping back so you can just allow what comes to you to filter through you and just let it be until it talks to you, until it feels like talking to you, until the aroma of the flowers you took a whiff of the other day feels like finally connecting with you because you're in the right place in your mind and heart to really understand. The idea of stepping back is called, in Aramaic, we use the term for that. I love doing this. It makes me feel like a real teacher. It's called tzimtzum. 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 Have I said it long enough? I want you to remember it. Tzimtzum. Tzim. Tzum. Tzimtzum means constriction. Pulling back, stepping back. Constricted. And that's how our ancestors described the creation of the world. that the Creator stepped back and the world came into being. And the more the Creator stepped back, the more the world came into being. Step back a little more, a tree began to grow. A little more, grass. Went back down. Back up. Played with it. And you can do this in your own lives, right? You're in a relationship with somebody, right? So you overwhelm them, they shrink. You step back, they grow. Step back a little more, whoa. A little more, oh my goodness, you're humongous. I mean, don't say that to your partner. Unless they've been here tonight. I mean it the way the rabbi said it. So it goes like this. I have 5 minutes, see? It goes like this. Tzimtzum, very important concept in Jewish mysticism or Kabbalah. That in the beginning, there was no beginning. You see, the way people not of my religion translate my people's story, because they don't understand Hebrew, they think they do. You know, you can't understand any religion or their writings or their tradition unless you are them. You know, nobody can know the mystery of any religion unless they are in that religion. You can't just study about it and then give a lecture. And, I mean, you can do that, that's okay. But you will never understand it unless you're in it. For example, there's a story, I know that's okay. Jewish time, Indian time, you know, we just go all over the place. There's 2 more things, and I promise I'll be quiet. Maybe not. I might not be quiet. It'll be really 2 little short, very short things. Don't you hate it when speakers do that? Because 2? You had to tell me the 2 things, you know. Damn. Rabbi Isaac of Akko, who lived nowhere near Akko, but it was a good name to have. So he lived in the 1300s. This was before they kicked all the Jews out of Spain, and he was living in Spain at the time. And then he went to North Africa, and they kicked the Jews out of there. And then he went to other places. He ended up in Safat and Akko. So he said like this. He said one time, a person not of the Jewish religion came to him and said, you know, I thought you Jews were smart people and civilized people. It's like the 1300s, very civilized back then, just like we are today. And I've seen you do all these weird rituals with fire and herbs and stuff like that on a Saturday night. You do these weird rituals with fire and herbs on Saturday nights. You know, stay away from Jews on Saturday night. Not very good. And, you know, I thought you guys were like enlightened. How could you do crazy things like this? With like superstitious stuff. And so Isaac of Akko said to him, I don't know how to answer that, but I can give you a little parable. You see, once there was a man who lived in the mountains and never seen another human being in his whole life. Tarzan, you know, they stole that from this parable. They stole everything from us. So Tarzan, he finally, one day he's wandering through the mountains and he comes to this village. His first experience with human habitation. And he's curious, so he wanders through the village. Wow, man, this is awesome. And he comes to a house, and he looks through the window, and he sees a man and a woman wrestling with each other, and grunting and groaning and sweating and screaming and oohing and ahhing, and fluids and sweat is flying all over the place, and sparks and lightning and everything. And he bursts in there and he separates and says, what the hell do you think you're doing? And so they say to him, we're engaged in a very important ritual. We're performing a ceremony here. You know, we're creating new life. We're bringing the sky to the earth and the earth to the sky. We're bringing creator to creation. That's what we're doing. And he said, you gotta be kidding. That way? That's stupid. And he goes back to the mountains. And so Isaac of Akko said, you see, just like the man who's never seen the ways of the human didn't understand what they were doing and how it could work that way, likewise, you who are not of our religion, you can never conceive of what we're doing just by looking at it. It looks very strange to you, as strange as that couple. They were filling out their income tax. Oh, you thought of... bad people, bad minds. Dirty, dirty minds. Okay, so getting back to Tzimtzum, then I finish. I can sum this up in 1 minute. Actually, we started 10 minutes late, so, I really do technically have another 10 minutes. I don't have to explain this to you, anyway. What are you going to do about it? Okay, here goes. In the beginning, well, actually, what I was saying before was translations of our scriptures by other people into English, for example, is such a bad thing. I can't begin to tell you. Another lecture. So, and usually you look in the Bible, and you open the night table of Super 8, and you open it up and it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Oh, boy. That is such a bad translation. That's not what it reads to me in the Hebrew. I never grew up learning it that way. In the Hebrew original, it says, "While beginning the creation of the sky and the earth being chaotic and desolate and darkness and the spirit of Elohim, which means source of powers, was hovering over the waters of the abyss, God said, there should be some light here." And there was light. Okay. Now, number one, the way we understand our own story is that God never created the world, but that God is creating the world. God is always ising, not wasing. We was. God is ising. We're busy wasing. Oh, why didn't I do this yesterday? Oh, what did I do this? Oh, why did I? Oh, I shouldn't have. We're wasing all the time. And God is ising. So God is saying, "Earth, bring forth trees, please, if you don't mind." God is creating. We are being created as we're sitting here. And so is everything else around us. Okay, number two. Number one goes like this. So, in the middle of the beginning of everything, because we cannot conceive beginning, the Creator had a big problem. How to create? Because the Creator is nothing but spirit, and the Creator was all there was. There was nothing, only Creator. It was a big nothing, eternal, infinite nothing, and that was Creator. And so Creator didn't know what to do because, it's a hard job to create out of nothing, number one. And the second problem is, where do you create if you are all? Like, can you build a log cabin on the sun? Same idea. Where do you create? So, the tradition is, in the Kabbalah, that the Creator stepped back constricted itself, pulled itself in, took a deep breath. And somewhere in that little space that resulted between the cosmic fruit of the looms and the cosmic belly is our world. So the big space, vast space in which our universe exists are all the planets and all the galaxies and the Milky Ways and the Snicker bars and everything. All of that whole big space is a little tiny default, a space that was created by default by the Creator stepping back within itself, pulling back into itself, constricting, making itself just a little bit smaller, so that by default a little space was created. Right there, I drew this yesterday. There it is. And in that little space is our vast, eternal, infinite-looking universe. And then within that universe, in that little space, it's called the Teheru, which means the cleared space, or the void, in more easier vernacular. Into that little space, Creator then exuded its will. And that's when it says, God said there should be light. That's like the Creator willing its light, its energy, its force, its desire for there to be into that space. So the light comes, the white light comes and hits the prism. What happens? It splinters into many colors. So the white light, so to speak, the Creator's energy, force, will, desire, hit this little place where matter now became possible because spirit was not there. And so into that space the light hit, the energy hit and split it into many colors, meaning many things. And then there are many versions of what happened next in the Kabbalah. So I'll just give you one version. The Creator then created only a stone, nothing more. One stone. This is a teaching by Rabbi Yossi, the Galilean. Very crazy people lived in the Galilee. So crazy Rabbi Jose, he said that the Creator made us a stone and then threw the stone into the abyss, into the void. And the stone bounced from one end of the universe to the other, in the process of which it began to lose grains of sand. If you ever sleep in a cave, which I have done a lot, because I get locked out of my house a lot. So, you sleep in a cave, you wake up in the morning, and there's, sand on you. Because the rocks out there that look like they ain't doing nothing are doing a lot. They're alive, they're sweating, they're exuding, they're giving forth. They're very alive. They have soul like we do. Maimonides, the most rational of all our teachers in the Middle Ages, rather, in his Code of Jewish Law writes, "You should know," he said, and you better know, that everything has soul that has been created. He says the stones, the planets, the leaves, the trunk of a tree, everything has stone. Everything has soul. Everything has soul. So little particles fell from the stone as it flung from one end of the universe to the other. And each of these particles became a planet. And the core of the apple, what was left after all the planets were made from this stone, dropped to one of the stones and landed there. And that's Earth. Landed in the earth in a certain space where Jews and Arabs are fighting each other like crazy for possession of that stone. Dome of the Rock was over that stone. Before Islam took that place over, it was our people's place of the temple. Our holy temple was there, our altar was on that stone. See? So, that rock has caused more trouble between the different tribes of that area eternally, forever, throughout history, than anything else in the world. Everybody wanted a piece of that rock. You can go to that rock today, and if you're respectful, you can go certain times to the Dome of the Rock. The Arabians are not as bad as newspapers crack them up to be, or as some Israelis crack them up to be. If you respect their way, they let you in, even if you're nice and Jewish. I had no trouble going in there. But if you don't want to go in there because you read all the newspaper stuff, you go underground. They excavated an ancient tunnel dating back to David 2,800 years ago that goes right under the stone. And it's a very, very powerful place to stand. Very powerful. So this is, in our story, this is called Evan Shetiyah, the stone of nurturance, because from it, the entire universe came into being. Okay? So our creation story is not just what you read in that book that's in a night table. That's like cryptic notes that remind us, as we read it, of the many oral traditions that come with it and that are behind it and that created it. I would like now to cease from speaking to you any further about this matter. And I guess we're going to...
No, the Indian person has a whole different perspective of what happened to his friend. And you may have good thoughts. You may have good intentions. But you would lack a connection. I was brought up in a sweat. I was raised in it. And I know what it takes to reach spirit and communication with spirit.
Well, yeah, I was just curious. You said when your daughter was was ill, and you went around with different revivals and everything. Were you at one time practicing Christianity, and are you still, if you were? Because you said you went around to different revivals and everything else. I'm just wondering if you were Christian at one time, if you were, are you still, or...
What happened is I was out there searching for ways to heal my daughter. But what I had forgotten, that I had the faith and the wisdom, mostly the faith, right within my hand to do that. But because of the sickness and because of the fact that she was going to die, I panicked. I said, took off and started looking for prayer. I went clear down to southern Arizona, a place called Miracle Valley. But their prayers are just like any other church. And I got down in Lodge Cross, Montana, and I met an Indian evangelist that said, you have to believe with me. I can't do it, you have to believe with me. We have to come to agreement. And that sort of thing. We're to agree. I guess that's what. But it brought me back to who I am. And the power that I received when I was 7 years old. It just brought it back up. You got it in your hands, why don't you use it? Why don't you use it? And I went out and I preached the gospel I learned. I preached for 18 years. I prayed for people that were blind, seeing their eyes open, people that couldn't hear, people that couldn't speak. I seen those things because I had them believe with me that it could happen. I believe it can happen. And if you believe with me, it'll happen. But your faith has got to be number one. It's got to start here. It don't start with somebody else, it starts here. I'm the one that's got to believe it. I'm the one that's got to motivate this thing. I got to put feet to my faith, so to speak. But that's the way that went. Anyone?
I'd be interested, Rabbi, if you would comment on what we've just heard about the power of belief and why it works.
Why it works?
How it works, why it works, what are your feelings about it? What's your knowledge of it?
Well, thank you.
Or your experience with it? Probably in a broader sense than just in a healing application.
Yeah. Well, you see, in our tradition, we have one day of the week that we are told to use our imagination. And it's called the Sabbath, the Shabbat. On the Shabbat, which happens the seventh day, every seventh day, Saturday, but if you're lost in the wilderness and you don't know what day it is, so the tradition teaches you count 7 days, and wherever it is, you forgot when it was, and the seventh day becomes your Sabbath. In other words, every seventh day we have a day where we step back from life the way we're used to seeing it, and we imagine and fantasize life the way it ought to be. Because the teaching is that if you lose your imagination, then nothing can happen. And imagination is like what led people like Yeshayahu or Yirmiyahu, or in English, Jeremiah, Isaiah, and others, to have dreams and hopes that the world would come to a healing place, that people would not learn war anymore, not have conflict anymore, where the Creator will wipe away the tears from all the sad faces, where there will be no more sickness. So our approach, our understanding of what faith is about using your imagination. Because if you don't use your imagination, like Pat said, you'll keep going back to the old pattern of, well, I can't do that. I can get up in the morning, eat breakfast, because I was trained that way, so I know it works. But beyond what I've been trained to do, beyond what I've been taught to do, takes faith. Or, in the teaching of Shabbat, takes imagination. Like John Lennon's song, imagine the world, right? So it begins, our teaching is that it begins with using your imagination to transcend the limitations that we put on ourselves, that it'll never work, forget it. And one of the teachings about that is in the story of Noah. And right after our creation story comes the story of the world falling apart and the flood coming. And our interpretation of the story is that that was a healing flood. The earth was dying because of the way people were living on her. And so the flood came. The Creator sends a big water to cleanse the earth and heal her and then replenish her again. Try again. And the big rainbow comes as a sign that it'll never happen again that way. It wouldn't have to happen. And the teaching there is, as long as there is one person like Noah who had faith in the world, who used his imagination, he didn't say, well, because the whole world's going to pot, what the heck, I'll just go with it. Rather, he said, the whole world's falling apart, but I still believe that the world can survive. And because of his faith, his imagination, they go together. They're very important to go together. The world survived. He built an ark, he put the animals on the boat, his family, and you know the rest of the story. You saw the movie. So faith and belief is very important, especially in healing, because that's where we lose any possibility. People have sicknesses that the TV or the radio or the newspaper or the books say, this is the end of your life. And so there goes the faith because the imagination is taken away. Somebody already fantasized for you and said it's not going to work. So you have to fantasize the other way and say, yeah, you know what? I imagine the things that's the most impossible in the world could be possible. And that's the beginning of faith in the way we understand it. Question? Yeah.
I'd like to ask you gave a proper translation of, say, those first words of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a place where that kind of translation or that kind of is available?
Yeah, you can find it lately. They're finally waking up I've seen it done in the Jewish Publication Society translation of the Hebrew Scriptures. It's called the New JPS translation of the Tanakh, because we call the Bible Tanakh. Tanakh is an acronym for Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim. The Torah, the 5 books of Moses, the books of the prophets, and the books of the writings, like Psalms. So we call it the Tanakh, and that's what it's called, Tanakh, published by the Jewish Publication Society in Philadelphia. And they redid their translation because they were doing it the old way as well, that everybody else was doing it, because, they're lazy. But finally they got some scholars who knew what they were doing, and they translated it the way that I was raised reading it. Any other questions? But there's still a lot of things that are not translated right, because I so agree with Pat about, again, it's something I mentioned earlier, that if you're not in the tradition, you can't understand it. You can read about it, and learn about it, and get facts, information, but you can't experience it. It's not like that. And everybody needs to find their own roots, because each one of you has a root much older than what you were raised with sometimes. I mean, maybe you're from Ireland, or Irish somewhere up there. They have a rich tradition in ancient Ireland that got wiped out like everybody else's religion got wiped out. So go and find it. You'll be surprised what you're going to discover. You're going to make Pat envy. You're going to make me envy. We're going to come begging to come and sit in your Celtic ceremony. And you're going to say, sorry, you just don't understand it. You can't. You're just going to be visiting the tourists. What's the question here?
There was one up here and then one over there.
One up there, okay. Yeah.
I wanted to follow up your answer to my earlier question, and maybe it links to a good bit of what you were saying earlier in your lecture. In imagining things, what's the source of the information that comes to you when you're imagining? And does one open up enough to let that get in past the normal five senses?
Yeah, by doing exactly what Pat said, going up on a mountain and sitting quietly, finding a quiet place. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who lived like 300 years ago, he lived in the Carpathian Mountains, and he said it's so important for everyone to at least once a week, he says, to go out into a place that's quiet, where there's no distraction and nothing, and just sit there and allow your mind to wander until it's so tired there's nothing more to think about. And then wait for something to come. Because all these prophets that they prophesied, prophets prophesied. But imagination is very sacred. It's a gift that the Creator gave us that is sort of like an antenna that picks up stuff. I can't, and like Pat said, it's very important to first get pure, clean out stuff in the attic before you start making room, because you have to make room for this to come in. It's like if I'm watching TV and the screen's going, I can't call CBS and complain. My antenna, my reception is what's the problem. Yes?
You think the Jews and the Palestinians will ever resolve the problem for the Middle East on a permanent basis?
I imagine that they will. And when I was in the desert, when I go to Israel a lot to teach and do ceremonies for people who really want to get away from the politics and want to get back to their old ways. And I spent a month out in the Judean desert by myself, and then on weekends people came and we did things. But one of the people that came was Sheikh Ali Saleh Muhammad Hussein, an Islamic Palestinian from the West Bank, sheikh, which is a holy man, a medicine man in the Islamic tradition, a road man, kind of, He goes around different people, does healings in his people. He came out there with his long robes and stuff, and we sat together all night long, talking. And we became the closest of brothers in the whole wide world. And he had heard about what was going on there, and he wanted to come out. And we are in touch, we're on the phone. I mean, after that meeting, my imagination just got stronger. I'm not going to stop imagining. Just like Isaiah said that one day we'll beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks. Which in a way scares me. I'd rather be hit over the head by a sword than a plowshare. But, we know what he really meant, but my imagination sometimes goes wild. So yes, I imagine there will be. I really do. I believe it. If I stop imagining, if I don't do my Shabbat time, it's never going to happen. Never.
Do you have a prediction?
I'm not as good as he is. Okay, wait. He inspired me. 25 years. 25 years it's going to happen. Was somebody here with a hand up? Yeah.
Is there perhaps Jesus is the example, but is there the Jewish experience of enlightenment, the equivalent of what you talk about enlightenment being less than living a complete unmanifest?
Well, yeah. No, Jews are not enlightened at all. We just kind of imagine it. Yeah, we have lots of stories. I mean, Jesus was a nice Jewish boy. He probably wouldn't recognize a church if it was alive today. He'd come to the synagogue and pray with us. He was one of us. And he was one of many in our tradition. But people who don't know our tradition only see him out of the context of his tradition. But yeah, enlightenment and all that beautiful stuff is something that's spoken about and taught about, and you meet people all the time. I mean, my teacher was an enlightened person. Nothing could hurt the guy. I mean, he was praying. He was praying in 1948 when the Arabs and the Jews were shooting at each other, and got shot in the leg, and he didn't know about it until later. And he limped the rest of his life and didn't seem to, he was totally in a whole different world. And it's a matter of allowing more and more of spirit to be heard. It's sort of like in the 3rd century there was a rabbi named Yehoshua ben Levi. And he was meditating one day, and when all of a sudden a vision came to him, and it was Elijah the prophet. And Elijah said to him, "Ask me anything, baby. I'll tell you exactly what you want to know." And he said, "All right, I've always wondered, when is the Messiah going to come?" And Elijah said, "Today." And he ran out right away, Rabbi Joshua did, and he grabbed his suitcase and, his VCR and packed up, and he was waiting, for the Messiah to come. Looked out the window of the inn where he was staying, no Messiah. Hours went by, Jewish time. All right, so it might be a while. But finally, day went by, 2 days went by, he realized Elijah had lied to him. So he went back home and he was hanging out and doing his life. A year later, he was having another vision in the desert when Elijah came to him again and said, "Ask me anything, I'll tell you." And he said, "I'm not asking you nothing." He said, "You lied to me." He says, "What? I'm Elijah the prophet, for heaven's sakes. I'm no ordinary ghost. Like, what did I lie to you about?" And he said, "You lied to me because I asked you, when is the Messiah coming? And you said today, and I ran off to get ready and everything and never came." And Elijah said, "That's exactly the problem. I never got to finish my sentence. I said today and you ran off." And I finished my sentence. It says, "Hayom im bekolo tishma'u," which means today, if you will listen to the voice. If you will step back and allow the voice to come and hear it, instead of making so much noise, asking so many questions that you don't give the time for the answer to come to you, it won't come. Is there another hand up for one of us? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times?
I'm ready.
You mean you're asking a question?
Yes.
Oh, to Pat?
We had to switch
Me?
places so that I could ask my question.
Okay.
Both of you, you may have already answered my question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's something that I've been wondering about lately. Why does there seem to be so much fascination with darkness?
Why is there so much fascination with darkness? Is there?
Yeah,
Lately, there's a lot of fascination with darkness. Why are people drawn?
You get tried every day, you get tried. I just getting tried right now. Darkness is overcoming this world, for one thing. And because of the lack of proper training for a lot of young people, children, because they're not brought up like maybe I was. It's pretty strict, a lot of do's and don'ts, mostly don'ts. And so in today's generation, the children of this generation are not being disciplined like they were a long time ago. So they tend to drift off in the darkness. And darkness begins to take over, and to them it begins to feel like it's something good. Me, I can sit back here and I can see that darkness working out there, overcoming the young people, all the different things that are happening. But to them, It's an all right thing. No, we're out in the darkness, so what? Who's going to do anything about it? And to them, they think it's okay. They think it's all right. So they're more or less fascinated in living in that particular area. Thinking that it's okay, thinking it's all right for them, But take us people like my age, that are brought up in a strict world where you have to go to work, and then we grow up and we grow older, and we see that darkness, which is no good. A lot of darkness there, a lot of drugs, alcohol, and different things. Well, to them, that's their world. So they feel comfortable with it. So I guess that's probably what I would say. I never really did get into that real seriously because, I tried to say, well, we can look at it, but we can't do anything about it, but we can. And that's just what I was talking about a while ago. We can change it. Don't just sit back and let the neighbor do it. You do it. It starts someplace. But it can be changed where we can get rid of all the darkness. The other thing I was going to say before I really shut up for the night. There's something that's been exploited. We had a grand old lady used to live up there in Arlene. Maybe some of you have heard of Agnes Landberg. Well, she used to tell a lot of stories about different things and some of our traditions. One of them was a vision quest. And somebody got a hold of that and exploited it. You can go to hell and give $5,000 for a vision quest. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Only one?
It's not spiritual.
It's commercial.
Okay, so this is, eventually everybody goes to the same place, so be careful who you borrow money from. They'll collect up there. So darkness is comfortable, and light is also good. It's very good, we promote light, but the problem with light is it challenges you. It doesn't let you sleep. It challenges you all the time. I don't want to be challenged. I want to go to sleep. I want to sit on the couch and I want to watch TV all day long until, how do you say that? Shanghai? Until the TV is bust. In the old days, remember the old day TVs when the tube would just, there was a tube in there that would just go out. And you'd have to get the guy over to unscrew the back and put a new bulb in there. Today you can watch TV until the day you die, and it won't stop. There's a song, a country western song I used to listen to when I lived in the woods of West Virginia. It was satellite, satellite, I watch it all day and I watch it all night. So anyways, answer your question a little bit also. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night, people. And